1994, there was a study on 4 women. 3 of them were Korean and 1 of them was Spanish. And they were all like from foreign countries, but they lived in America for 5 to 7 years. So what the researchers did is they made them do one specific habit, like as often as they could for a few months. And by the end of the few months, the women, they got a lot more fluent in English and they learned at least 1,000 words that they knew how to use properly. So the person who learned the least, they learned 1,000 words that they know how to use properly. And the most successful, she learned 5,000 words that she knew how to use properly in everyday life. And with just one habit every single day, they didn't change the rest of their lives, they didn't adapt anything else, just doing one habit as often as they could for a few months. Then the specific habit, it was reading. And the research, they didn't make them read like a textbook or anything. They said to find a book series that they enjoy and that they understand and to read in their free time. That was all they had to do. Read a series that they understand and that they enjoy in their free time. That was what made them learn minimum 1,000 words and get really fluent in English in just a few months. So why does it work? It works because when you read, you have to think in English. And when you think in English, I've said this before, when you start to think in English, you start to be able to speak quicker and more fluently. Because instead of thinking in your native language, translating it, and then speaking, you think in English and then you instantly say it. And that makes speaking a lot more fun and easier. And with reading, like, as well as thinking in English, it also improves the vocabulary. Because when you're seeing new words and you're applying them, that's when you start to learn the words. And what the researchers did specifically is they made sure that they enjoyed the book and they understood it. Because that's the first rule of reading. If you want to read to improve your English, you have to enjoy the book. Because even if you don't understand the book, if you enjoy the book, you're going to keep reading it throughout. And that's what's going to help you think in English, speak better, and improve your vocabulary. So the first thing you have to do, whatever book you're picking, make sure that you enjoy it. You have to make sure that you find the book fun. Because if you don't, then you're just not going to have fun reading. You're going to start to hate reading, meaning you're going to speak less English, meaning you're going to end up hating learning English. And that's not what we want. So make sure that you enjoy the book, first thing. I'm saying that a lot, but you have to make sure that you really like the book. Like, even if you weren't trying to learn English, you would still read the book. That's how much you have to like the book. And second of all, you have to make sure that you understand the book. Now, there's something called the 5-finger rule, which is that if there's more than 5 new words on every page of a book, then you probably shouldn't read it. Even if you find it interesting, you probably still won't end up finishing the book, because having to research 5 new words for every single page is going to be a lot. But the ideal thing is, if you can find a book that you really enjoy, make sure that you really enjoy it, and it has between 1 to 3 new words per page, and you read that as often as you can, that's what's going to help your English so much. Because in the researchers, most of the books that the women read, there were normally 2 to 4 new words per page, and that's what's allowed them to increase the vocabulary and start to think in English. So like I said, if you can find a book that's between 1 to 3 new words per page and that you really enjoy and you read as often as you can, that's what's going to help you improve your English. You don't have to think, oh, I didn't read for long today, I'm not going to learn. Or I didn't read a lot of pages today, I'm not going to learn. No. In the experiment, the researchers, they made the women, they said to read for pleasure, meaning they weren't worried about reading a certain amount. And then they said to read as often as you can. But it didn't matter. And even though they were reading as often as they could, that wasn't their focus. They were focused on just reading the book. And because they enjoyed it, that's why they read often. So like I said, don't focus on reading for long or reading a certain number of pages. Just find a book that you like. Find a book that even if you weren't trying to learn English and you just saw the book in English, find a book that you would genuinely like to read. And you don't have to, obviously understanding is important, but if you're going to do one thing from this video, just find a book in English that you like, that you enjoy to read. And if you read that, your English will improve by so much. So like I said, find a book that you enjoy in English that has between 1 to 3 new words per page and read as often as you can. And if you go like a week without reading, don't worry about, oh, I'm going to lose all my vocabulary, I won't be able to understand English. No. Just when you enjoy don't even worry about reading often. When you enjoy the book, that's when you're going to read often. So don't focus on, oh, I'm going to have to read for 30 minutes today, I'm going to have to read for an hour today. No. Just focus on finding a book that you enjoy, finding a book that has between 1 to 3 new words per page, and just read it. Read it when you can, read it when it feels good. Because when you enjoy the book, that's when you're going to read often. So don't focus on reading for a certain amount of time or reading a certain amount of pages, no. Just focus on finding a book that you enjoy and that you can understand. And when I say understand, between 1 to 3 new words per page, so that you don't have to use a dictionary for every page, because it's boring and it takes away the fun of the book, and you're not really learning, you're just learning how to use a dictionary. So like I said, make sure that you enjoy the book, that you genuinely find the book fun, and that have between 1 to 3 new words per page. And if you do that, when you find the book interesting, that's when you read a lot. So when you do that, that's when English will improve a lot. And it's an easy and fun way to learn, because when you enjoy the book, make sure you enjoy the book. Because when you enjoy the book, that's when you read a lot. When you read a lot, you start to think in English, you learn new words, and when you think in English and you have a good vocabulary, that's when speaking becomes so much easier, and you can become a fluent speaker.